Have you ever sat down after lunch, felt that heavy fog roll in, and thought, is this just what getting older feels like? You are not imagining it, and you are not alone. A significant portion of adults over 60 report this kind of daily mental fatigue, and most have never been told why. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to walk you through 7 daily habits that are quietly aging your brain faster than almost anything else. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to change and how to start tonight. Number 4 is the one that surprised even the neurologists I trained with. Stay for that one. Before we start, how old are you and where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. That fog you feel, that creeping sense that your thinking isn't as sharp as it used to be, is not inevitable. Research in neurology and geriatric medicine consistently shows that lifestyle choices after 60 have a measurable impact on how quickly the brain ages. But here's what frustrates me. This information rarely makes it into a standard checkup. Routine appointments are 15 minutes long. Prevention doesn't always get the time it deserves. That's not a conspiracy, it's a scheduling problem. Before we go further, I'm Dr. James Carter, neurologist, and I've been in practice for over 20 years. But I am not your doctor. Nothing in this video replaces a conversation with your own physician. Do not stop or change any medication based on what you hear here. This is education. Use it to ask better questions at your next appointment. These 7 habits are things I see in my clinic repeatedly. Some will surprise you. All of them are preventable. Let's get into it. Number 1. Chronic mental understimulation. This matters because a brain that isn't regularly challenged starts to lose the scaffolding it spent a lifetime building. Have you ever realized you've watched 3 hours of television and can't recall a single thing that happened? Most people over 60 settle into deeply comfortable routines. It feels like rest. It feels earned. That's exactly why it matters. Here is what's physically happening. The brain relies on something called neuroplasticity. That's the brain's ability to form and reorganize connections between cells. Think of it like a road network. Roads that get regular traffic stay smooth and navigable. Roads nobody uses start to crack and overgrow. When your brain stops being asked to learn, remember, or solve, those neural roads begin to deteriorate. The technical term is synaptic pruning. Your brain literally trims connections it thinks you no longer need. And after 60, the brain becomes less efficient at rebuilding what it loses. Scientists believe this is one of the reasons cognitive decline accelerates in retirement, though the full picture is still being studied. Every day without meaningful mental challenge is a day those roads get a little narrower. I think of patients like Margaret, early 70s, retired school teacher, does everything right except this one thing. She walks every morning. She eats well. She sleeps fine. But her days after retirement became almost entirely passive. Television in the afternoon. The same crossword she'd mastered years earlier. Familiar routines with no resistance. Details are changed to protect privacy. But the pattern is completely real. When I asked her what the last genuinely new thing she'd learned was, she went quiet for a long moment. "I don't know," she said. That pause told me more than any scan. Research in cognitive neuroscience and aging consistently points to mental engagement as a protective factor against early cognitive decline, particularly in adults over 65. This connection is well established across neurology and geriatric journals over the last 2 decades. What's not widely communicated in routine checkups is that passive leisure television, familiar routines may not provide the same benefit as active challenge. Here's your fix. Starting tonight, 1 new mentally effortful activity per day. This doesn't mean expensive courses or complicated apps. Number 1, learn 5 words in a new language using a free app. Number 2, read 1 article on a subject you know nothing about. Number 3, try a new route on your walk and actively notice 3 things you haven't seen before. Before trying this, if you have a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment, talk to your doctor about this before beginning structured cognitive training. There are specific protocols that work better. This is accessible at 0 cost. The common mistake that cancels this fix: confusing familiarity with stimulation. Doing a crossword you've mastered for 5 years is not challenge, it's habit. What comes next is something almost every senior does before their feet hit the floor in the morning, and most have no idea it's quietly working against them. Number 2, disrupted or shortened sleep. This matters because the brain does critical maintenance work during sleep that it simply cannot do while you are awake. Have you ever spent the night waking every hour, told yourself it was fine in the morning, and pushed through your day anyway? Most people in their 60s and 70s accept broken sleep as an unavoidable part of aging. It feels normal. That's exactly why it matters. Here is the mechanism. During deep sleep, your brain activates a system called the glymphatic system. Think of it as your brain's overnight cleaning crew. It flushes out metabolic waste, including proteins associated with neurological disease. Think of it like a dishwasher that only runs at night. If you keep interrupting the cycle, the dishes never come fully clean. Over time, waste accumulates. Fragmented sleep also disrupts memory consolidation, the process by which your brain converts the day's experiences into long-term storage. Chronically poor sleep in people over 60 has been associated in research with measurable changes in brain structure. Scientists don't fully understand every mechanism yet, but the pattern in the research is clear and consistent. I've watched this pattern reverse completely. Before, a 68-year-old man, I'll call him Thomas, was waking 4 times a night, relying on afternoon naps, and had started to notice word-finding problems during conversation. His wife noticed it before he did. After 6 months of structured sleep changes, no medication, the word-finding issues largely resolved. Same person. He told me, "I thought it was just age." It wasn't. It was sleep debt, compounding slowly. Research published in sleep medicine and neurology journals consistently points to sleep duration and quality as among the most significant, modifiable risk factors for cognitive decline in adults over 60. This is not widely communicated to patients because sleep disorders are underscreened in routine checkups, and many people over 60 don't report their sleep problems, assuming nothing can be done. Your fix, starting tonight. Number 1, set a consistent sleep and wake time, including weekends. Your brain's clock responds to regularity. Number 2, keep the bedroom cool and completely dark. Number 3, no screens in the 30 minutes before bed. Caveat: if you suspect sleep apnea, waking gasping, loud snoring, extreme morning fatigue, talk to your doctor about this before trying any self-directed fix. Sleep apnea requires medical evaluation. This isn't right for everyone, as a solo approach. The common mistake that cancels this fix: the long weekend nap. A nap over 30 minutes in the afternoon disrupts your sleep drive for that night, and the damage compounds. We haven't hit number 4 yet. That one is different. I need you to stay for it. Number 3, chronic social isolation. This matters because the brain evolved as a social organ, and without regular human connection, it begins to lose critical processing functions. Have you ever gone a full week without a real conversation, not small talk at a shop, but a genuine exchange, and told yourself you simply prefer your own company? Many people over 60 do. It feels like peace. That's exactly why it matters. Here is what's happening inside. Social interaction forces the brain to engage simultaneously in language processing, emotional reading, memory retrieval, and real-time response. That's more cognitive work happening at once than almost any solo activity produces. When that stimulation disappears, multiple brain networks begin to receive less activation. Think of it like a muscle, not a dramatic collapse, just a slow, invisible weakening, day after day. Loneliness also triggers a physiological stress response, elevating cortisol, a stress hormone which research has linked to accelerated hippocampal shrinkage over time. The hippocampus is the brain's primary memory center. The evidence points to social isolation as a risk factor comparable in scale to other well-known brain health threats. There's a moment I keep coming back to. A patient, I'll call her Eleanor, asked me something I wasn't ready for. She'd been widowed 2 years earlier and had quietly stopped attending everything she'd once loved. She asked me, "Is it possible to just forget how to talk to people?" She wasn't joking. She'd noticed her conversations becoming shorter, more effortful, harder to track. She thought she was losing her mind. What she was losing was practice. Her brain hadn't broken. It had simply stopped being exercised in the one way it needed most. Research in social neuroscience and geriatric psychiatry consistently points to social engagement as a protective factor against cognitive decline and to isolation as a measurable accelerant of it, particularly in adults over 65. This is underreported in medical literature patients actually read, partly because it's difficult to prescribe and partly because its effects accumulate slowly and invisibly. Your fix this week. Number 1, schedule one real live conversation every single day. Phone counts, video counts, a walk with a neighbor counts. Number 2, if mobility limits your access, consider a telephone befriending program or a faith community with outreach. These are free, widely available, and specifically designed for this. Number 3, join one group activity anchored to something you already care about. Talk to your doctor about this if you are experiencing depression or grief. Social prescribing works best when underlying mental health is also supported. The common mistake that cancels this fix: passive presence. Sitting in a room with the television on is not social contact. The brain knows the difference. If what you're learning here is making you see things differently, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I put out new content every day on senior health secrets, and every video is built around information that doesn't always make it into a 15-minute appointment. Share this with someone you care about. And if you want to go deeper, I've linked a free guide in the description. It covers everything we're talking about today and more. Number 4. Chronic psychological stress. This matters because prolonged stress exposure is one of the most potent and most hidden drivers of accelerated brain aging in adults over 60. Have you ever carried a worry so long that it stopped feeling like worry and just started feeling like your personality? Most people over 60 carry real burdens, health concerns, financial pressure, grief, caregiving. It feels unavoidable. That's exactly why it matters. Here is the mechanism. When you experience stress, your body releases cortisol, your primary stress hormone. A short burst of cortisol is protective, helpful even. But chronic, unrelenting cortisol exposure is toxic to one part of the brain in particular, the hippocampus. Think of cortisol like bleach. A drop cleans, a steady drip corrodes. Research has associated chronically elevated cortisol with measurable reductions in hippocampal volume, your brain's memory and navigation center. After 60, the brain's ability to regulate its own stress response weakens, meaning the same stressor produces a stronger, longer cortisol spike than it did at 40. Scientists don't fully understand every pathway yet, but the evidence linking chronic stress to accelerated cognitive aging is among the strongest in the field. Actually, let me be more precise about that. When I say chronic stress, I don't mean the ordinary stress of a busy week. I mean a sustained baseline state of worry, tension, or threat that has lasted months or years. That distinction matters clinically. I think of patients like Gerald, late 60s, primary caregiver for his wife with a serious illness, hadn't slept properly in 2 years, hadn't asked for help once. He came in worried about his memory. He said, "I can't remember names anymore. I lose my keys every day. I'm frightened." His brain scans were not the story. His cortisol levels were. Gerald's brain wasn't diseased. It was exhausted. 6 months of structured stress support, caregiver respite, basic sleep hygiene, 1 therapeutic conversation per week, and his memory function improved significantly. He told me it felt like a fog lifting. Research published in Stress Neuroscience and Geriatric Medicine consistently points to chronic psychological stress as a modifiable risk factor for cognitive decline, with effects on the hippocampus that may be partially reversible with intervention. This is not widely communicated in routine checkups because stress management is difficult to bill for and difficult to standardize. Yet the evidence points to it as one of the highest leverage interventions available. Your fix, starting tonight. Number 1. Identify your single largest chronic stressor and write it down. Naming it is the first step toward addressing it, not avoiding it. Number 2. Implement one evidence-supported stress reduction practice daily. Even 10 minutes of slow, intentional breathing has measurable physiological effects. Number 3. Talk to your doctor about this if chronic stress has lasted more than 6 months. Referral to a psychologist or counselor is a legitimate medical intervention, not a last resort. Accessibility note. Many senior community centers offer free stress management programs. No cost, no special equipment. The common mistake that cancels this fix: trying to simply think your way out of chronic stress. Willpower does not lower cortisol. Behavioral change does. Number 4 is the one I said would surprise you. I meant it. Number 5. Physical inactivity. This matters because regular movement is one of the most powerful tools available for preserving brain volume after 60, and most people over 60 are not getting enough of it. Have you ever told yourself that a walk around the block doesn't really count as exercise, so why bother? Most people set the bar too high, do nothing, and call it a lifestyle. It feels like honest self-assessment. That's exactly why it matters. Here is what's physically happening. Aerobic exercise, anything that raises your heart rate, stimulates the production of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. If you want a plain English name for it, think of it as fertilizer for your brain. BDNF supports the growth of new neurons and the maintenance of existing neural connections, particularly in the hippocampus. Research consistently shows that adults over 60 who maintain regular moderate aerobic activity have measurably greater hippocampal volume than sedentary peers. Think of it like watering a garden versus leaving it to dry out. The difference isn't visible after 1 day. After 1 year, it's unmistakable. I want to be honest with you. The evidence here isn't black and white. Some people with joint disease, cardiac conditions, or mobility limitations face genuine barriers to aerobic exercise. For those individuals, even gentle movement, chair-based exercise, water therapy, slow walking appears to confer meaningful benefit. Talk to your doctor about what level is safe and appropriate for you specifically. I've watched this pattern reverse completely. Before, a 72-year-old woman, I'll call her Dorothy, described herself as not an exercise person. She'd been sedentary for a decade. She was experiencing persistent mental fog and early short-term memory concerns. After 18 months of daily 20-minute walks, nothing dramatic, just consistent, her mood, energy, and self-reported cognitive sharpness all improved. Her word retrieval was noticeably better. Same person. She said, "I thought exercise was for weight. I didn't know it was for my brain." Research published in neuroscience and aging journals consistently points to regular aerobic activity as one of the most reliably neuroprotective behaviors available to adults over 60, with effects observable at even modest intensity levels. This is not widely communicated to patients as a brain health intervention specifically. It tends to be framed as heart health or weight management, and the cognitive dimension gets lost. Your fix, starting this week. Number 1. Commit to 20 minutes of brisk walking 5 days per week. This is the single most evidence-supported starting point. Number 2. If walking is limited by pain or balance, ask your doctor about water-based exercise or chair aerobics. These are widely available at senior centers and often free or low cost. Number 3. Do it at the same time each day. Routine removes the decision. The common mistake that cancels this fix, starting too intensely. Soreness after day 1 becomes an excuse to stop. Start at a pace where you can hold a conversation. Number 6. Ultra-processed food consumption. This matters because what you eat directly affects the biological environment your brain lives in, and the standard Western diet is actively hostile to brain aging. Have you ever opened a bag of crackers or a packaged snack, told yourself it was just a small thing, and not thought twice? Most people over 60 eat far more ultra-processed food than they realize, because it's engineered to feel normal. That's exactly why it matters. Here is what's happening. Ultra-processed foods, packaged snacks, processed meats, sweetened drinks, fast food are high in additives, refined sugars, and industrial fats that promote systemic inflammation throughout the body. Inflammation is a word you'll hear a lot in brain aging research, and for good reason. Think of it like a slow rust. Your pipes aren't burst, but the oxidation is constant, quiet, and cumulative. That chronic low-grade inflammation crosses into the brain and has been associated in research with accelerated neurodegeneration. Diets rich in vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats, and fish, what researchers sometimes refer to as Mediterranean pattern eating, have been consistently linked to slower cognitive decline in older adults. There's a moment I keep coming back to. A patient, I'll call him Raymond, came to see me about concentration problems at 74. When I asked him to walk me through a typical day of eating, he looked embarrassed. Cereal from a box in the morning, packaged crackers at lunch, a ready meal most evenings. He said, "I live alone. It's easier." He wasn't wrong, but easier isn't always harmless. Over 6 months, Raymond shifted to simple Mediterranean pattern eating, not extreme, not expensive, and reported a noticeable improvement in mental clarity and energy. He called it thinking more smoothly. The pattern is completely real. Research in nutritional neuroscience and geriatric medicine consistently points to dietary patterns as a modifiable factor in cognitive aging, with Mediterranean-style diets showing the most consistent protective association in large observational studies. This is underreported in medical literature patients actually read, partly because dietary change is difficult to standardize and rarely covered in a 15-minute appointment. Your fix, starting this week. Number 1. Eliminate one ultra-processed food from your daily routine and replace it with one whole food equivalent. One swap. That's the entry point. Number 2. Add oily fish twice per week if tolerated. Sardines, salmon, mackerel, these are the most affordable high omega-3 options. Number 3. Add 1 handful of leafy greens daily. Spinach, kale, arugula, any form, cooked or raw. Caveat: if you take blood thinners, talk to your doctor about this before significantly increasing your leafy green intake. Some greens affect how those medications work. The common mistake that cancels this fix, all or nothing thinking. You do not have to eat perfectly. You have to eat better, consistently, over time. Number 7. Untreated hearing loss. This matters because declining hearing, when left unaddressed, forces your brain to work dramatically harder just to process everyday conversation. diverting resources away from memory and cognition. Have you ever asked someone to repeat themselves, then let it go and pretended you caught it, because it was easier than admitting you didn't? Most people over 60 do this regularly. It feels like social grace. That's exactly why it matters. Here is the mechanism. When your hearing declines, your brain must recruit additional cognitive resources, attention, working memory, processing speed, just to fill in what your ears are missing. Think of it like trying to drive while also solving a math problem aloud. You can do both, but your driving suffers. When that cognitive overload happens persistently, day after day, across every conversation, your brain is spending resources it would otherwise use for memory consolidation, executive function, and clear thinking. Research has associated untreated hearing loss with a significantly elevated risk of cognitive decline and dementia. The mechanism isn't fully understood. Social withdrawal from hearing-impaired people likely contributes, but the association is one of the strongest and most consistent in the field. I think of patients like Arthur, mid-70s, sharp as anyone I've met, but struggling with concentration at family dinners. He'd been compensating for years, nodding, smiling, pretending. His family thought he was disengaged. He thought he was just getting older. When we identified significant hearing loss, and he finally got appropriate devices fitted, his daughter called me to say he's back. He hadn't gone anywhere. He'd just been exhausted, silently, for years. Research in audiology and cognitive neuroscience consistently points to untreated hearing loss as one of the most significant and most preventable modifiable risk factors for dementia. This is not widely communicated in routine primary care checkups, even though hearing screening is quick, non-invasive, and widely available. The evidence points to intervention, hearing aids or other devices, as potentially protective for cognitive function, not just hearing. Your fix, starting this week. Number 1. Get a hearing assessment. Many audiologists offer free baseline screenings. This is the single most important first step. Number 2. If you've been told you have hearing loss and have not acted on it, bring this conversation to your doctor. This isn't vanity, it's brain health. Number 3. In the meantime, reduce cognitive load in noisy environments. Face people directly when speaking, reduce background noise where possible, and stop pretending you caught things you didn't. Caveat: hearing aid access and cost vary significantly. Talk to your doctor about this for options available through insurance or senior health programs in your area. The common mistake that cancels this fix: waiting. Most people with hearing loss wait years before seeking help. Every year of delay is a year of unnecessary cognitive load. You now have two choices. You can close this video and go back to the exact same routine. Or you can pick one thing from this list, just one, and try it tonight. See how you feel by the end of the week. That choice is completely yours. Here is everything we covered fast. Challenge your brain daily. Protect your sleep. Stay socially connected. Manage chronic stress. Move your body. Eat real food. Get your hearing checked. That's it. 7 things. All within your reach. And please, bring any of this to your doctor. These are conversation starters, not prescriptions. Your physician knows your full picture. I don't. You watched this entire video. That tells me something about you. You take your health seriously. You're paying attention when it counts. Most people your age have never had this laid out so clearly. That knowledge is yours now. Use it. If this helped, subscribe. It's the best way to tell me to keep making content like this every day. A like takes 2 seconds and helps more people find this video. And if someone you love needs to hear this, please share it. It might matter more than you know. Tomorrow on Senior Health Secrets, something that affects a significant number of seniors over 65, and most of them have been told it's completely normal. It's not.